Nadia is a 40-year-old primary school teacher, and her husband, Hussein, is a 56-year-old retired teacher. Nadia says their life was going normally and successfully. Their children had grown up and were in college, and there were no problems that could threaten their happiness or change their bond. My relationship with my husband was built on love and companionship, and we were the type that knows how to talk about anything concerning our lives, especially since we are educated and understand each other very well. Anyway, when Hussein reached retirement age, that's when our lives began to change. Hussein's health was affected. He developed diabetes and high blood pressure, and honestly, he was no longer able to satisfy my sexual desires as before, especially since I'm still 40 and my libido is still strong. Intimacy between us became rare. And when it does happen, Hussein is unable to finish it. I was patient and endured it. But I used to feel a very bad feeling when I am still at the peak of my arousal and he is no longer capable and fails. I was convinced and understood that this was beyond his control because of his illnesses, and I tried not to let him feel weak in front of me. But at the same time, this deprivation began to affect me. I was always on edge at home, and I felt deprived, and that made me nervous and annoyed all the time. We stayed in this situation for 2 years. Sometimes we tried to forget, and sometimes we would talk and fight with each other. Hussein could see that I was always tense at home, and of course his educational level allowed him to understand my state very well. But there was nothing he could do other than listen to me and say that he excused me. Despite all this, I never thought about cheating on Hussein at all. And I used to look at my children who were successful in their studies, and that was what kept me patient a little. But Hussein and I felt and understood that our life had truly become a torment. Until one day, as usual, Hussein and I were talking about this subject. He suggested that we go to a psychiatrist. Maybe he could help us get out of this nightmare and the nervousness I was in. I agreed, and we went to see a psychiatrist. We went in and sat with the doctor. He immediately understood that our level of culture allowed us to talk about this topic with complete frankness and understanding. Anyway, the gist of the doctor's words was that sexual deprivation is what makes me nervous. He said to Hussein, "Mr. Hussein, there are two solutions. Either you take sexual stimulants, and this could be dangerous for your health, or you try to your wife reach sexual climax through words with times, meaning you could have her imagine herself in exciting sexual positions, or say any words to her that you know excite her, or have her imagine herself with a fantasy man who excites her desire." And the interview ended like that, and we went back home. Of course, as usual, as Hussein and I sat down and talked, I said to him, "What do you think about what the doctor said? It might be a solution." Anyway, after we discussed the topic, we agreed to try what the doctor said. And when we sleep together, Hussein started telling me about exciting sexual positions. And sometimes he tells me, "Imagine yourself now sleeping with a stud or so-and-so." He says any names, I don't know, just to excite my desire. And indeed, this talk worked out for me. And I started feeling a climax when he makes me imagine myself in positions I like. Or imagine myself with one of the names he mentions to satisfy my desire. And Hussein's name became something he repeated often when he felt my arousal. And I began to respond with passion to his words. His friend's name was Nabil. Hussein was happy to see that my spirit had returned to me, and that I was reaching climax through his words, and he could see my interaction and my intense desire for what he was saying, to the point where my moans would escape when he would kiss me and say, "Imagine yourself now with Nabil the stud satisfying your lust." I would truly close my eyes and feel his lips kissing me, and his words made me genuinely imagine that I was with his friend Nabil, and I would reach a state of agitation and climax. We were living this change happily after our lives had been full of tension, and I would tell Hussein that I was satisfying my desire through these fantasies, and that I was happy with this feeling. Anyway, we continued like this for about 6 months after that change, and everything was going exactly as we wanted. Hussein and I felt that I had become calm again and was no longer as tense as before. And that helped us a lot. And we began to talk with complete ease. To the point where when we were in bed, he would, for example, imagine you and Nabil now in this position and he's holding you tightly. And he would describe every detail of the encounter as if it were real. And I was responding to his words so intensely, to the point where I started moaning and saying Nabil's name without even realizing it. To keep the story short, one day, as usual, Hussein and I were talking about the subject and the change we were living. He told me, "I've become very impressed by your agitation, your lust, and your response to what I say." I laughed and told him, "Yes, I really like this change, honestly. It stirred my desire deeply." We kept talking like that until Hussein asked me, "What if you lived it for real?" At first I didn't understand what he meant, and I asked him in surprise, "What is it that I would live for real?" Hussein said to me, "What you're imagining, I can make you live for real." I asked him in astonishment, "You mean your friend Nabil?" He said, "Yes, exactly." And before I could speak, he said, "Listen, I am speaking seriously. And my goal in all of this is for you to be happy in your life with me. I don't want to see that nightmare period we were living in again. Think about what I said, and I am ready for anything you want." Hussein got up and left the house, leaving me in a state of bewilderment. Even now, I haven't identified how I felt at that moment. I felt strange and confused emotions. I felt that this shouldn't happen. And at the same time, I remembered the climax I felt when he made me imagine myself with Nabil. And at the same time, the feeling of I could ever have the nerve to sleep with Nabil. I remained confused all day, not understanding any of the thoughts swirling in my head. When Hussein returned home in the evening, he said to me, "If you want, let's be together tonight." Anyway, I prepared dinner, took a shower, got myself ready for him as usual, and we went to bed. Hussein and I were completely silent. Not a single word was spoken. He was also waiting to see where my mind had reached after what he said. We both felt the weight of the situation, but at the same time, there was a strange calm between us. He started to get close to me, patting me gently and stroking my hair. We sat for about 15 minutes in total silence, and each of us was thinking about what happened and about what he said in the morning. I started the conversation and asked him, "Hussein, are you really serious? Are you not testing me?" He looked into my eyes sincerely and said, "I swear to God, Nadia, I am serious. I have seen you change and become a different person over the last 6 months. You returned to how you were when we were married, calm, happy, and laughing. I love you, and the happiness of my children and your happiness are what matter to me. I know this is a strange and difficult request, but the life we were living was harder. I don't want to be the reason for your unhappiness and deprivation. I want you to be happy, even if your happiness requires this sacrifice on my part. Think about it carefully, and I am with you in any decision." His words touched my heart in a strange way. I felt that I was not dealing with just a husband. I am dealing with a lifelong friend who truly loves me and cares for my comfort. I told him while my tears were falling, "You are a good man, Hussein. May God keep you for me. But I am afraid. I am afraid of feeling like I am betraying you and afraid of doing something I will regret later." Hussein wiped my tears and said, "My love, this is not betrayal as long as I know and agree. This is something we both agree on, so we can continue our life together in peace and comfort. We don't want to go back to the nervousness and tension. Think of the matter as a solution to a health problem I have, not as betrayal. Sleep now, and our decision doesn't have to be tonight. Take your time." That night, we slept in each other's arms, but without any intimacy. It was an embrace full of tenderness and understanding. I imagined myself often with Nabil, but that imagination never became reality. The next day after, Hussein left for work in the morning. I sat thinking a lot. The confusion was driving me crazy. The feeling of fear and restraint on one side, and the feeling of desire and euphoria I felt just from imagining it on the other side. I finally decided that I must act with my mind, not with my emotions. I am now convinced that this is the solution. But I want to see how serious Hussein is and if he truly agrees wholeheartedly. When Hussein returned from work, we sat together. I told him, I won't lie to you, Hussein. I have long imagined myself with Nabil, but you must understand that this is an irreversible decision. And if it happens, there will be no blame or reproach between us afterward. He smiled at me and said, I promised you there'll be no blame or reproach. The important thing is for you to be happy. I said to Hussein, okay, what will you do? How will this happen? Do you imagine that I will just meet him and tell him? Hussein thought for a while and said to me, look, Nadia, we have to play it right so Nabil doesn't get tense or feel pressured. I won't tell him anything at all about our agreement, and I will act completely normally. I will invite him for dinner at our place tomorrow, or the next day, just like we used to do before. I was surprised and asked him how so. What will he do then? He said to Hussein, with a faint smile, this is your role all this time. I was feeding you lines to get you to imagine yourself with him. Mo tati. Now you will be yourself. You are the one who will make him feel you are attracted to him and want him. When he sees your seduction and desire, he will believe it is your decision, not my request. You will seduce him until you give yourself to him willingly before his own eyes. I mean, he will believe it's real and that no one pressured him. I asked him nervously, but will you stay with us the whole time? Hussein said to me, no, of course not. I will pretend I have a very necessary and important errand. I won't be able to make it back, and I'll leave you both alone. I'll tell him he needs to stay with you for a while until I return. This whole matter will be between you and him. I won't interfere at all so we can keep up appearances in front of him. What do you think? After thinking about this method, I felt it was easier and more realistic than going to meet in total secrecy as if it were a romantic date. Bah. This way, it will be me who chose and decided to respond to him. I said to Hussein, fine, I agree. But you must stay in touch with me every so often so I can be sure you're okay. Hussein said to me, of course, but don't worry. I will invite him to dinner next Wednesday and tell him it's just a quick invitation. Get yourself ready. Wednesday arrived. I prepared the whole house and made a nice dinner, and I was unusually attentive to appearance. I wore a dress that highlighted my beauty and figure, and I put on strong perfume. Atikum. At 9 p.m., the doorbell rang. Hussein opened the door, and Nabil walked in. He greeted us very normally, and he didn't know a thing. Hussein and Nabil sat down to talk about their work and retirement news. I was sitting next to them, but my looks toward Nabil were different. I was trying to catch his eyes every now and then, and I was speaking with a strange playfulness I hadn't used before. I was trying to make him feel that I had changed and that I was happy he was there. After dinner, around 10:30, Hus suddenly looked at his watch and said with feigned nervousness, "Oh my God,